What do you do if you hate your new kitchen's backsplash, but you don't want to allocate the time or the budget to fixing it right now? Well, in our case, you paint it. So we started out with these giant Tuscan type tiles. They remind me of a mid-90s kitchen when that Tuscan look was all the rage. It's totally not our vibe, but we also have a zillion projects that we need to tackle before this one. So what could we do to make it work for us for the next, say, 3 to 5 years? I got to work researching. I've seen a lot of folks painting tile over the years. I didn't know how feasible it would be, but it turns out it's a wonderful interim solution. So here's how we did it. We started out by removing all the hardware off the walls. Next, we used a TSP solution to clean these tiles using a sponge. Kitchens especially are notorious for having residue, food, grease, oil, cleaning products left behind. So this TSP really strips it of all of that. Then you want to have a fresh sponge, fresh clean water to go back and clean all of that TSP solution off the tiles and let it dry completely. In the meantime, go ahead and tape off your counters, cabinets, hardware on your sink so that your primer and paint aren't getting on anything that they're not supposed to. Then the fun begins. So you want to start with a high adhesive or bonding primer. We used Kills, but there are multiple different brands. I learned after the fact that you can actually tint your primer. So if you know that you're going dark, you can tint your primer dark so it's a little bit easier to cover. The flip side of that is if you're torn between going light or dark, you're going to get to see it all in white and determine whether or not that's a good fit for you. In our case, we knew we were going black, but here we are. So you're going to do 2 coats. The first one is going to be with a brush so that you can get all those grout lines, any cracks, any holes. In our case, our tiles were textured, so it was very important to use a brush. And then once the first coat dries, you're going to go back with a second coat with a roller. If you have smooth tiles, you can use a foam roller. If, like us, you have textured tiles, I recommend a longer nap roller. So the goal here is to just cover every surface with a wonderful coat of your primer so that the paint has something to really stick to. Then, once the second coat is dry, you're going to start applying your first coat of paint. If you're using it in a high traffic area, something that's going to get a lot of use like a kitchen, a bathroom, I recommend using an oil-based enamel paint. We used black in a satin. Most tiles are painted in satin or semi-gloss. We're really glad we went with satin because it even was shinier than we had originally anticipated. I did not want it to be any shinier than it was. Probably could have been a little more matte and we would have been fine. But we also wanted it to be super cleanable, wipeable, and so didn't want to go less shine than satin. So just like your primer, you're going to do 2 coats. The first one using a brush. Again, this lets you get all up close to the cabinets. You can cut in your corners. You get all in those grout lines. Our tile had a lot of little holes and cracks. The brush lets you get all of those. Now, the first coat is going to look terrible. It's going to have lots of brush strokes. It's going to look like it's not working. Fear not, it's going to be great. So the difference between the primer and these coats is that you want to let this dry at least 24 hours in between. So once you get your first coat on, set up some fans and walk away. After 24 hours, you're going to come back and do your second coat again with a roller. You can use foam if it's a smooth surface or a longer nap for texture. And this is your final coat. So this is when you want to make sure you cover all those brush strokes, any primer that you're seeing through. Keep your brush out because you might need to touch up along the edges with that brush for the second coat. And then you're going to walk away for another 24 hours. Don't try to put your hardware back on yet. Don't take your painter's tape off yet. Just leave it all for 24 hours to cure again. After that, come back. You can gently remove your painter's tape. I found using an X-Acto knife kind of helped make sure that none of my paint was sticking to the tape. Go ahead, take your drop cloths down, and you can gently start putting back on your base plates, your switch plates, all of that. Keep in mind that oil-based paint takes at least 7 days, sometimes longer, to cure. So even though it feels dry to the touch, it's not necessarily set, so it's still pretty soft. So just be careful with your screwdrivers, your drills, so that you're not nicking any of your paint. And then voila, it's time for the final reveal, stepping back, admiring your hard work. In our case, we absolutely love the results. We are super pleased with how it turned out. It is absolutely what we pictured. Time will tell how well it holds up, but so far we are wiping it every day. We are cleaning it with no problem. We're using cleaners on it. There's no evidence of flaking or coming off on the sponge, nothing like that. So if you have been considering painting your tiles in your kitchen or in your bathroom or elsewhere, my experience was great. It was less than $100. It took a couple of days over a weekend, and we have a brand new Backsplash that if it gets us a few years, I will consider it amazing win. And if it gets us longer, even better. So take the plunge if you're thinking about it.